French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir once said, "J'accepte la grande aventure d'être moi," meaning I accept the great adventure of being myself. Do you remember yourself when you were a little kid and you were asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? The answer was always unfiltered, and kids usually say, I want to be a ballerina, a doctor, a policeman. To me, it was a pianist. Playing the piano was something I enjoyed from a very young age. While my siblings were out playing, I was teaching myself songs by ear. My mom, seeing the spark, decided to make it official. And by age 7, I had my first piano recital. My family believed in art, culture, music. And for them, this was not just a hobby, it was a way of life. So later I was sent to Europe to study, and I studied art in Paris, Florence, Rome. And this was a great adventure for me, seeing all the artwork that inspired me firsthand. I realized that being a creative was not something I did, it was something that I was. And until life had a big turnaround, I find myself back in Brazil after leaving a relationship that ended in a traumatic divorce. I was a single mom to a 3-year-old son. At that point, I started to question myself. And I realized that my life, my artistic life, was a luxury I could no longer afford. So I decided to compare myself to other professions. My sister's an attorney, my brother was an engineer. And I felt, I gotta be responsible. I gotta do something that provides a security, a stable income. So I decided to go to law school. I applied to several universities. Out of 5, I got into 4. And one of them was the University of Miami. So that's how my son and I got to be here. Law school as a single mom wasn't easy. It was long days, long hours, long nights. But I was determined to create a better future for my son and I. Until one night, I am in my bed. My son is sleeping next to me with our dog, Dudley. I have all the law books in front of me. And suddenly, this deep sense of sadness came over me. I started to feel that something wasn't right. And it wasn't just tiredness. It was something bigger, heavier than that. I reached out to a bookmark that was in one of my law books. That was a picture of my favorite painting. In that moment, I just felt the tears coming down my face. I started to cry and realized that what I was crying about was the fact that I was grieving. I was grieving the loss of myself. The person that I loved, the person that I was, the person that was alive was being erased. And I needed to do something about it. So, with the realization that what the problem was, I looked for the solution. And the solution was to accept myself, to accept the fact that my mind was created for creativity, my heart was created for connection, instead of forcing myself by comparison to do something I wasn't made to do. So I took a big step, a big risk, a leap of faith, and decided to follow a long time dream of mine, which was to open an art gallery. I used less of my savings to secure a space, and it was a very interesting and exciting but scary moment as well. First day, I went into this raw space, and there I am, just me, a few paintings, my son playing with Legos in the corner, and all these thoughts started to come in my head, and I'm thinking, are you crazy? What are you doing? What if this fails? How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to pay for his education? Education, that to me, coming from the family I came, was a big deal. Taking his education, giving him the best education possible, was something I took very, very seriously. But at that point, the only way I had placed all my money, all my bet was on that gallery. So the only way was forward. So I became this one-woman operation. I painted the walls, I engaged the artist, I curated the show, I hung the artwork, I designed the invitations. My son and I distributed the invitations around the neighborhood, hoping that people would come. And then opening night came. We sat there, just him and I. He ran to the door. My son was always very precocious. So he sat by the door greeting people as they walked in. And slowly, the gallery started to get filled. In 1 hour, it was pretty full. In 2 hours, it was packed. And soon after that, we could barely move. There were so many people in the gallery. And by the end of the evening, all the artwork was sold. As people left, and I'm organizing the pieces, and I'm separating things they needed to be delivered the next day. I was also the delivery man the next day. My son runs to me, gives me a big high five, and says, "Mommy, we did it." And I looked at him with little eyes beaming me proud, and I said, "Yes, baby. We did it. We did it. Against all odds. We did it." So that leap of faith, that relying of my own authenticity and what really made me, opened up a huge new world of opportunities and excitement. Soon I started to work with artists that I have revered all my life. One of them was this guy, Cristo. I don't know if you guys heard of him, but he's was one of the most original artists that ever was. He created these monumental environmental installations. Projects that sometimes took 20, 30, 40 years. He would sketch these things and would take almost like a lifetime for it to come to life. But he was his conviction on his vision, it was so intoxicating. And I felt so happy and privileged to be able to work with such genius. And then my world got expanded one more time when producers of a TV show came to Miami casting for a national show. They were looking for people that lived in Miami, that lived exciting, authentic lives, and they found me. We had an interview. They offered me the position, and that's how I came to be in that show called The Real Housewives of Miami. I probably shouldn't, now just looking at your faces, probably shouldn't have disclosed that because now I'm just losing all my credibility. But no, give me a chance. I have more than my TV persona. So the show needed a theme song. And I was thinking, well, maybe I should give it a shot. But there was real professional musicians submitting tracks. And my training was in classical piano. Have never composed a song, that was a pop song. But I decided to give it a shot. So I wrote the song, I sang it, I recorded, I submitted it. And to my astonishment, my song, Feel the Rush, was chosen to be the theme. And that song has passed the test of time. It has now been the official song for 7 seasons. And has been a big, proud moment of mine to be able to have done that and kept that song going for so long. And after that success, I started to compose other songs. And that led me to working with the living legend, Emilio Estefan, 22-time Grammy winner, asked me to work with him, and he started producing me. I felt, are you sure? I mean, he's made the names of the greatest, in Latin music. If you name anybody, Shakira, Mark Anthony, Ricky Martin, the greatest of the great of Latin music has worked with this man, have been produced by this man. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yes, I'm sure. I was like, okay, here we go. So there's Emilio and I working in his studio. That was my blonde era. It's still me. He just taught me that authenticity, being true to yourself, it's more than self-expression. Authenticity, it's a currency. And he built his legacy, his whole career on that, on leaning on his Latin roots. That was a priceless, like a masterclass in the power of authenticity. That is me. Recently, thank you. Recently, I got awarded what is called Bravo Awards, like the Oscars of Bravo TV. The award is for colloquial excellence, which means the fans vote for the most original moments of TV. And that is my face when I felt that I was accepted by the audience. An audience that had seen me on my good, my bad, and my ugly, they've seen all of me. And yet, they accepted me, they love me. So that, to me, was the face you make when you win an award by being authentic, by being the real you. Which now brings me to a story that I love a lot and has inspired me for most of my life. Does anybody here know who this woman is? Maybe you know who her brother-in-law is? Vincent van Gogh, the Dutch artist that died in poverty and unknown. Yet today, he is one of the most recognized artists, and his body of work, it's appraised to be in the billions of dollars. So how did that work? How did that come? How did that happen? He once said, it's a rather sad prospect to have to say to myself that the painting I do will perhaps never have any value. When he died, his brother Theo died 6 months after. And Van Gogh that lady, the woman, was left. She was 22 years old. Picture this, a 22 years old left with a 1-year-old son, with no money, no profession, no plan, just a bunch of pictures that the art critics had deemed worthless. So what was Yo to do? One night she ran into a box of letters, because every time that Vincent painted, he would mail the paint to he was in the south of France, and he would mail the painting to his brother, Theo, that was living in Paris. He was trying to sell the artwork in Paris. So he would also write letters explaining the significance of the paintings, but also talk about his struggles, his dreams, and what made him inspired to do such painting. For example, this painting right there, he painted a bed because that was the first thing he was able to buy for himself. So when Yo read the letters and understood his struggles, saw the person behind, she decided to compile and publish a book. And the book was an overnight success. Once people started reading the stories and saw the humanity in Vincent's life, they now wanted to see the artwork of the tortured artist. And that's how she saved his legacy. Because authenticity was not only seen, authenticity was felt. I too felt the power of his authenticity. Do you remember that night when I reached out for my favorite bookmark, my favorite painting? This was it, Starry Night. The power of this painting transcended centuries and touched my life in a moment that I was feeling despair. He was feeling despair when he painted this, because this was painted the view of the asylum that he self-admitted after cutting off his ears, one of his ears. Yet, in that deep despair, he was able to find beauty, a beauty that inspired people like me centuries later. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in psychology at Harvard because I am fascinated by human behavior. One of the things I like is this Maslow hierarchy of needs that explains that when you are aligned with your true values, your idea of success changes. And only then you can achieve what we call self-actualization. That's you becoming your real self. So people ask me, what's your formula to success? To me, I never take no for an answer. That rejection is just data. And authenticity is my direction. I like to compare myself to the dandelion. And I don't do tattoos, but if I ever had a tattoo, I probably would make me into a big dandelion. Because it's the strongest image to me of resilience, of believing in yourself. Because the dandelion doesn't wait. It just grows in the cracks where it lands. Being here tonight feels that I've come full circle. Because when I came to this university to attend law school, I never thought I would be one day in this stage. And life has a very poetic way of connecting dots. You see, my son, my beloved son, used to handle lighting for TEDx talks when he was a student. And the lighting that he put on to others today highlights his mother. And as a mother, I've always had not only the mission to provide, but also the hope to inspire him, to make him proud of me. So today, that goal feels beautifully complete. So before I go, significance isn't born from comparison. It's born from the acceptance of your authentic self. The call isn't to be better than. The call is to be fully you.